Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight Live on KMTV. I'm Kristen Hawthorne and here are your top stories on Monday the 16th of March. Fatal fever. 2 students die and others hospitalised after a meningitis outbreak in Canterbury.
Some people are going home, yeah, and a lot of people are saying that they're just going to stay in their rooms.
One moment changed everything. A woman from East Peckham shares her story after a life-changing diagnosis.
One thing I would definitely say in regards to cancer, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You've got to do what's right for you.
And pedalling for change. A Maidstone father cycles 12 hours to break mental health stigma and raises more than £25,000.
And I think, people talk about, it's all about talking, and talking's important. It's also about listening, and people need to listen.
Well, we've got a fully packed show this evening, but of course our top story tonight is about an outbreak of a mystery strand of meningitis in Canterbury, which has killed 2 young people, with several more in hospital. It is believed this cluster of cases started last week following a club night in the city in chemistry. The University of Kent has suspended all in-person exams, but the campus remains open as students pile in to receive antibiotics. Chloe Brewster has headed down to the campus earlier today and spoke to some students to find out more.
A meningitis outbreak in Canterbury has meant many people here are on the first bus out of town. 2 people have died with the illness and another 11 have been hospitalised. One of the dead is a 21-year-old student at the University of Kent, and the other, Juliet, a Year 13 student at Queen Elizabeth's Grammar School in Faversham. The UK Health Security Agency have contacted more than 30,000 people in the Canterbury area. Students from 2 different on-campus university halls have been told to head down to the Senate building just behind me here to collect antibiotics. You can see them queuing up around the block. They've been here since about 8:30 this morning, many of whom are wearing masks.
Some people are going home, yeah, and a lot of people are saying that they're just going to stay in their rooms. Some people are scrambling trying to get antibiotics as well. Someone I used to work with is in hospital at the moment, but yeah, they're being treated, so hopefully they're going to be okay.
Well, especially when something's so local like that, it can feel quite personal. There's a chance to know these people. Yeah, it's just been quite a lot, really.
I think there's definitely some concerns for people's safety, understandably, but also the fact it was a delayed response to cancelled exams as well, like adding that extra pressure on people.
Club Chemistry, a nightclub in the city, has confirmed a visitor to the venue had contracted meningitis. The owner has called the news heartbreaking, but health chiefs are now weighing up whether to give antibiotics to anyone who attended the club across 3 nights earlier this month, with the potential operation affecting more than 2,000 people.
Meningitis has been something I've been tackling with sort of all my life. I first had it when I was about 18 months old. It makes me feel quite concerned and just very uneasy. I'm quite tense right now because I've seen the damage it can do. I've seen people sort of without certain limbs. I've seen people who've been wheelchair bound. I've seen people who really struggle sort of in a day-to-day basis. And I'm quite lucky with sort of how I came out, but obviously it can lead to death, which can be quite concerning.
Sources told Kent Online that staff at East Kent hospitals have been told to wear full PPE when treating people with symptoms of meningitis. And for now, the university here has stopped in-person exams, but campus remains open. The UKHSA say they're working with local teams as the situation continues to unfold here. Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Canterbury.
As you've seen in that video there made by Chloe, she spoke to Corey Miller, who actually joins me now to tell me a bit more about your perspective on things. You had meningitis. Can you tell me a bit about your story with that?
Yeah, sure. So I was 18 months old when I got diagnosed, and although I don't remember the entirety how it came about, I know from my mum. So initially it started with sort of vomiting, nausea, and I was sent to the hospital and they didn't think anything too much of it. They thought it was just any other virus and they wanted to send us home. However, about 12 hours later, I started getting hallucinations and my condition deteriorated. So from that, they sent me to the hospital in London. So I was in Downs Valley, hence they moved me to London. And Yeah, so with that, luckily I haven't had too many big sort of issues with my life. The only main thing is I'm deaf in my left ear, amongst a fair amount of sort of post-meningitis symptoms.
And we've got this lovely picture of you here doing some fundraising. Can you tell me what it's like being a survivor of meningitis?
Yeah, sure. So this is actually a marathon that my brother ran for the charity Meningitis Now. That's a charity that I've been very closely involved with my life. So I feel quite alienated sometimes when it comes to my condition because I don't think there's a lot of sort of knowledge around it. And especially sort of with me, I know that there's been other people who've been subjected to the symptoms worse. So I know there's people, again, being without limbs who suffered sort of mentally. In terms of myself, it sort of had an effect on my speech. That sort of comes from the hearing being deaf in my left ear, along with I get constant brain fog. When I just came out of the hospital, I had quite severe balancing issues and I had to go to physiotherapy and relearn how to walk and sort of properly talk. And it's a bit challenging sort of thinking about what I want to carry on doing because I want to do some form of presenting, but a lot of that does weigh on sort of memory and speech and language, which I struggle with as a result of the meningitis. However, I am very thankful that I am relatively unscathed from it.
Yeah, and I mean, with this outbreak happening in Canterbury, I can imagine it's obviously affecting everybody, but how does it feel for you? How do you feel like things have been dealt with?
So I am a bit concerned. I think what the university is doing is good to a degree. However, I think there does need to be more enforced sort of just people staying away from one another. I saw they had the clinic of giving out antibiotics and stuff. I know when I came back from the hospital, my mum, my dad, my brother, they all had to take probiotic, just something to prevent them from getting ill. So I think the distribution of that is sort of very important. I know that some societies are stopped sort of running. However, I don't think there's been much to address the actual stress around it and sort of the welfare of the students. They got a link to sort of the welfare, but other than that, there hasn't been too much sort of support around it. And they did say the campus is still open to sort of like walk around. So I think that's another sort of issue because it is a bacterial illness. It does spread through that. And, you know, I believe this spread through chemistry, which is a nightclub, and just that sort of like interaction, constantly being with people. I think it's very important that people sort of stay away from one another and just in their own sort of dorms.
All right, Corey, well, we'll speak to you a bit later in the show. Thank you so much. And to understand more about meningitis and how it's directly affecting the University of Kent, I spoke to the UK Health Security Agency earlier today.
We first became aware of this cluster very, very late on Saturday evening. So we got word through of a large number of cases then. And so yesterday was when we were in a position to provide more public information. And it was recognised pretty early that we needed to provide information to the public because, as you can imagine, there will be lots of people very worried when they know of people who become seriously unwell with an infection. It is really important to recognise that we do see single cases in universities and we take action around those, but the cluster was only identified late on Saturday evening. So we know that we've got a particular risk of infection and clusters at university age because we know that there's quite a lot of intense social mixing, particularly when people first start university in their earlier years. And so we do not uncommonly see small clusters of university students who have meningococcal infection. So we do know that meningococcal infection does circulate at very low levels all of the time. So we know that a proportion of people at all times can carry the infection in the back of their throat. But we know that when people go to university and mix a lot more readily with others, there is a higher risk that they will transmit the infection to others, which is why we say that we do occasionally see clusters in university students. I think it's fair to say the university has been incredibly helpful. They've provided a huge amount of information to students. They've made a venue available for individuals to collect ciprofloxacin, the antibiotic that we're recommending. They've done a huge amount. They've provided lots of comms to students. I think it's really important to recognise this is a really worrying time for people who have links to the university, and it is inevitable that people will be really anxious. I think it's important that we just provide as open information as we possibly can and provide the most up-to-date information so that people can do what's required of them to protect themselves. UKHSA has identified a number of people that we particularly consider at greater risk, and that includes very close contacts of cases and individuals who live in particular blocks of the university, and we have asked them to come forward specifically to receive the antibiotic. As we get more and more information over the coming days, it's very likely that we're going to be asking for more individuals to come forward who are at particular risk, and we'll certainly provide those details as we know them. So if anyone else at the university is identified at particular risk, the university will be in contact with them.
Now, that's all we have for time on this part of the show, but don't go anywhere, as we, after multiple major surgeries and months of treatment, a woman from East Peckham has now been told her cancer has returned and she can no longer be cured. However, she's encouraging everyone to listen to their body and seek medical advice and always treat people kindly. We'll also be taking a look at Vision Sign and Choir, which is also very exciting. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight live here on KMTV. A woman from East Peckham had her world turned upside down when she was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2023. After multiple major surgeries and months of treatment, she's now been told the cancer has returned and she can no longer be cured. She's sharing her story while raising money for Macmillan, the charity that supported her throughout her journey. Maisie Walker reports.
Most people count down the hours until work ends, the minutes until school is over, the seconds until dinner is ready. But at the same moment, someone else is counting too. Not down to a meal, not down to the end of a day, but down to the end of their time. We meet people every day, but may not know their full story. Donna Woods from East Peckham has been battling with cancer since 2023. She's our reminder that although people may seem healthy, they may not actually be. Her message is short but powerful. If you can be anything in this world, be kind. Donna was diagnosed with colon cancer about 3 years ago. She had emergency surgery to remove a tumour from her colon, and once she had recovered from that surgery, had 6 months of chemotherapy. In August 2024, she was told the news that the cancer had spread to her ovaries and needed a full hysterectomy. She now lives with a stoma after finding out it had spread into her abdomen wall lining.
It was surreal. It was like something out of the movies that you see, where you're taken into an office, people looking at you, waiting for your reaction. And a few of the staff at the hospital still actually remember me because I was very matter of fact. Okay, like I didn't think shock more than anything. Shock. One thing I would definitely say in regards to cancer, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You've got to do what's right for you. I have found, for me, the hardest part has been the unknown. So one thing that's really highlighted to me since I have been poorly is that you really don't know what's going on with someone. So what I have found is I don't think at the minute I look poorly. However, I really am. And how important it is to always be kind to people because you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm not curable now.
Donna hopes to give back to Macmillan in thanks for the support they've provided throughout her cancer journey. She has described how her 2 Macmillan teams have listened, cried and laughed with her in times she needed them the most. Her efforts to raise £5,000 for them are still ongoing. Maisie Walker for KMTV, East Peckham.
And today marks the start of Sign Language Week, and the theme is More Than a Language, Culture, Community and Belonging. And that's exactly what Vision Sign and Choir aims to do. This is a choir that meets up every week to sign through every song, rather than just sing, all while raising awareness of the deaf and hard of hearing community. Our reporter Naila Mohammed went to the choir to learn a song for herself.
This is not your average choir. Here, words take a back seat and your hands take centre stage.
This choir is very different to all the others. There is no singing involved unless you want to. All the work instead are done with your hands, the most important part in communicating with people who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Vision Sign and Choir meet up every Thursday evening in Gillingham to bring people together for one sole reason: to sign. And this choir creates a community where everyone is welcome.
Like tonight, we're hearing, deaf, they can all come together, enjoy the music, whether they're feeling it, whether they've got hearing aids in, but we all mix together and we can sign and we can sing. Well, we don't really sing much, but we sign and we just enjoy the music and everyone can get together.
Other members of the choir say that it provides a safe space for those who are deaf or hard of hearing, especially when they may not have a space of their own.
It would be nice to have more spaces where deaf people feel comfortable and where they can communicate in their own language and feel a part of something, because they've had a lot of oppression over the years. A lot of their spaces have closed down.
This is Mina. She started to lose her hearing 9 years ago and often feels judged when she's out in public. That's when she and her daughter joined the choir.
You can tell people, sorry, can you face me? Can you speak clearly? And maybe for the first 2 minutes they will remember, but then they start to look away, or they look down, or they start to mumble. And when you can't keep asking them, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Because in the end you get, oh, never mind. So you just feel that, yeah, you're being judged.
The choir is open to seasoned pros and beginners alike, as they learn a new song almost every week. So I took this as an opportunity to learn some sign language myself. Though my signing does need some work, the environment allows for mistakes. And in a choir where voices aren't needed, the message of community is still being heard loud and clear. Naila Mohammed for KMTV in Gillingham.
And of course, don't forget you can keep up to date with all our latest stories across Kent by logging onto our website kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all the reports, including this one, about a TikTok trend going viral showing Highland cows in Ashford and how the added attention may not be ideal for the animals. Here it is.
A typically quiet nature reserve in the Kent countryside has recently found itself in the spotlight. It's because of a recent TikTok video that went viral, showing the visitor petting one of the Highland cows. Since then, the site has seen hundreds of people hoping to do the same thing. But Kent Wildlife are urging people to rethink.
Part of that video was her approaching the cows quite closely and at one instance sort of going to pet them. And that isn't something that we advise. It's not part of our guidance around working with our livestock here. It is a public site. A lot of people use the site, but that TikTok went viral. And so we've seen a massive influx of people onto the site, especially at the weekends. Lots of families, lots of couples, lots of people coming to enjoy the Highland cows and take photos with them. It all took off really because we obviously saw this video and we have also needed to sort of address how you interact with these animals on site safely.
If you're coming to the Heathland to see the Highland cows, this is as far as you should be to get a picture. Otherwise, the animals can get quite distressed and it can have negative impacts on their grazing.
Disturbance is a massive issue. Obviously, it's great that people come down to experience it, but when we get people coming off the pathways, we're potentially stressing not just our animals, but also the wildlife additionally present on the site. The cows, if they keep getting pressure, will try and leave as best they can, but when you've got 500 people across an area of heath like this, there's not always places for them to hunker or hide.
While the viral video has brought many people to the reserve, one family said a different post online encouraged them to keep their distance, showing the impact social media can have.
We saw videos, was it Facebook or TikTok?
I saw it on TikTok, yeah, and Vicky loves Highland cows.
So we thought we'd come down, yeah.
And what did you think about the TikTok when she started stroking the cow and everything?
Oh, we didn't see that one. Yeah, so we didn't actually see that one, but we saw a post after that was just warning people not to get too close, and which obviously is quite sensible.
Yeah, stay away, don't touch them.
Why do you think you wouldn't touch them?
Well, they're wild animals, not to interrupt them, and obviously they can be dangerous as well.
The Trust says that you shouldn't pet or feed the animals, including the ponies that are also on site, because it can contaminate biodiversity in the area and cause an overdependence on humans. While Kent Wildlife are pleased about the interest in the animals and the site, they hope that getting up close is a fleeting trend with no lasting beef. Kristen Hawthorne for KMTV, Ashford.
2 young boys who were accused of smashing up a local authority's HQ during an immigration debate have been charged with criminal damage. The 12 and 14-year-olds will appear in court at the end of the month following trouble at Swale Council's Sittingbourne offices on December 10th. The first floor men's toilets were broken and taps were left running, causing water to leak through to the ground floor. The £10,000 damage meant the offices were unable to reopen to the public the next day. The boys who were arrested days later have been released on conditional bail. And the judge is not happy with the prosecution of an 80-year-old man, Eric Ball, whose dog bitten every delivery driver, David Cooper, as he dropped off a parcel outside of his Broadstairs home. Judge Simon James says this could and should have been a civil matter. The dog has no history of aggression and the injured party chose to enter the property despite signs of the presence of a dog. Eric Ball admitted an offence for the dog being out of control and causing a massive injury. And now it's time for a look at the weather. Tonight, Kent will see cloudy skies with temperatures hovering between 9 and 10 degrees. Tomorrow morning will be similar, with Canterbury reaching highs of 11, while other areas are staying at around 10. By the afternoon then, skies will clear across the county and bring some sunshine with highs of 14 and lows of 13 degrees. Wednesday we have clear skies from Wednesday to Friday actually, and 15 degrees on Wednesday and Thursday, 13 on Friday. And now time for another break, but coming up we'll have a recap of our latest headline, including a story that's been hitting nationals about an outbreak of a strand of meningitis. All of that and more to come. See you then. Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight Live on KMTV. I'm Kristen Hawthorne and here are your top stories on Monday the 16th of March. Fatal fever. 2 students die and others hospitalised after a meningitis outbreak in Canterbury.
Some people are going home, yeah, and a lot of people are saying that they're just going to stay in their rooms.
One moment changed everything. A woman from East Peckham shares her story after a life-changing diagnosis.
One thing I would definitely say in regards to cancer, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You've got to do what's right for you.
And pedalling for change. A Maidstone father cycles 12 hours to break mental health stigma and raises more than £25,000.
And I think, people talk about, it's all about talking, and talking's important. It's also about listening, and people need to listen.
Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight Live here on KMTV. Our top story this evening is of course about the outbreak in Canterbury of meningitis, which has killed 2 young people with several more in hospital. It's believed this cluster of cases started last week following a club night in the city at Chemistry. The University of Kent has suspended all in-person exams, but the campus remains open as students pile in to receive antibiotics. Chloe Brewster headed down to the campus earlier today. Students.
A meningitis outbreak in Canterbury has meant many people here are on the first bus out of town. 2 people have died with the illness and another 11 have been hospitalised. One of the dead is a 21-year-old student at the University of Kent, and the other, Juliet, a Year 13 student at Queen Elizabeth's Grammar School in Faversham. The UK Health Security Agency have contacted more than 30,000 people in the Canterbury area. Students from 2 different on-campus university halls have been told to head down to the Senate building just behind me here to collect antibiotics. You can see them queuing up around the block. They've been here since about 8:30 this morning, many of whom are wearing masks.
Some people are going home, yeah, and a lot of people are saying that they're just going to stay in their rooms. Some people are scrambling trying to get antibiotics as well. Someone I used to work with is in hospital at the moment, but yeah, they're being treated, so hopefully they're going to be okay.
Well, especially when something so local like that, it can feel quite personal. There's a chance you might know these people. Yeah, it's just been quite a lot, really.
I think there's definitely some concerns for people's safety, understandably, but also the fact it was a delayed response to cancelled exams as well, like adding that extra pressure on people.
Club Chemistry, a nightclub in the city, has confirmed a visitor to the venue had contracted meningitis. The owner has called the news heartbreaking, but health chiefs are now weighing up whether to give antibiotics to anyone who attended the club across 3 nights earlier this month, with the potential operation affecting more than 2,000 people.
Meningitis has been something I've been tackling with sort of all my life. I first had it when I was about 18 months old. It makes me feel quite concerned and just very uneasy. I'm quite tense right now because I've seen the damage it can do. I've seen people sort of without certain limbs. I've seen people who've been wheelchair bound. I've seen people who really struggle sort of in a day-to-day basis. And I'm quite lucky with sort of how I came out, but obviously it can lead to death, which can be quite concerning.
Sources told Kent Online that staff at East Kent hospitals have been told to wear full PPE when treating people with symptoms of meningitis. And for now, the university here has stopped in-person exams, but campus remains open. The UK HSA say they're working with local teams as the situation continues to unfold here. Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Canterbury.
To understand more about meningitis and how it's affecting the area, I spoke to the UK Health Security Agency earlier today.
We first became aware of this cluster very, very late on Saturday evening. So we got word through of a large number of cases then. And so yesterday was when we were in a position to provide more public information. And it was recognised pretty early that we needed to provide information to the public because, as you can imagine, there will be lots of people very worried when they know of people who become seriously unwell with an infection. It is really important to recognise that we do see single cases in universities and we take action around those, but the cluster was only identified late on Saturday evening. So we know that we've got a particular risk of infection and clusters at university age because we know that there's quite a lot of intense social mixing, particularly when people first start the university in their earlier years. And so we do not uncommonly see small clusters of university students who have meningococcal infection. So we do know that meningococcal infection does circulate at very low levels all of the time. So we know that a proportion of people at all times can carry the infection in the back of their throat. But we know that when people go to university and mix a lot more readily with others, there is a higher risk that they will transmit the infection to others, which is why we say that we do occasionally see clusters in university students. I think it's fair to say the university has been incredibly helpful. They've provided a huge amount of information to students. They've made a venue available for individuals to collect ciprofloxacin, the antibiotic that we're recommending. They've done a huge amount. They've provided lots of comms to students. I think it's really important to recognise this is a really worrying time for people who have links to the university, and it is inevitable that people will be really anxious. I think it's important that we just provide as open information as we possibly can and provide the most up-to-date information so that people can do what's required of them to protect themselves. UKHSA has identified a number of people that we particularly consider at greater risk, and that includes very close contacts of cases and individuals who live in particular blocks of the university, and we have asked them to come forward specifically to receive the antibiotic. As we get more and more information over the coming days, it's very likely that we're going to be asking for more individuals to come forward who are at particular risk, and we'll certainly provide those details as we know them. So if anyone else at the university is identified at particular risk, the university will be in contact with them.
Is Corey Miller, who was previously diagnosed with 2 types of meningitis. So he's here with me now to talk more about his experience. So you joined me earlier in the show. You were talking about the kind of support that you feel should be more available in the area. What kind of support do you think would help people?
So I think generally just that sense of community and information, because I feel meningitis as a whole, a lot of people have heard about it, but they don't know the proper ins and outs in terms of how to identify it, how sort of life after would be for it. So with me, I found a lot of my knowledge through Meningitis Now, the charity that I worked with. I've done many sort of fundraising events. I found that was a very helpful place to be because that helped me connect with other people who were affected by it. They also have a Dropbox where you can ask any request, and they also have a 24-hour on-site nurse, I'm pretty sure. So feel free to call up if you've got any concern. But yeah, just generally just trying to keep well informed about sort of the symptoms and side effects, and if it is dire, you should definitely go to the hospital and get it checked.
And maybe what would you say to some of those students who might be quite worried? There's going to be different reactions across the 2 campuses, but what would you maybe say to those students? Should they be really worried? I mean,
I think in general, I tried to first calm down. I know it's quite a challenging thing to say overall, to calm down with such a overwhelming thing, but primarily just trying to be in a sense of calm space, because with this it tends to be prominent within infants and teens or young adults, and if you do tend to be quite stressful, you are more susceptible to it. So with that, trying to, even if it's on sort of online places where you can call people, talk to people, just keep that connection live and try and, I suppose, just, yeah, try to be comfortable with your allotment. I wouldn't say go out too much. So with meningitis, this one, the strain, is a bacterial one, you know. I had pneumococcal and meningococcal in the hospital. In fact, I think it was just pneumococcal when I was in the hospital, but I contracted meningococcal whilst I was in the ward being treated by someone else. So obviously with that, there is, you know, a little bit of concern and danger is that around that. However, nowadays it's a lot more sort of safer and regulated, but yeah, just keep clean, just constantly wipe down surface, washes your hands, and keep taking the antibiotics to stave it off.
And you're obviously a student of the University of Kent. Mm-hmm. You're not directly on the Canterbury campus, but how do you feel yourself in terms of this outbreak? I can imagine it can be quite daunting, maybe.
Yeah, I find it really concerning because I've got a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of sort of people I know through society who are on campus, and a lot of their sort of life is through interacting with people. So it's quite a big sort of turn with that, and especially it being so late in term. This is where we have got all of our sort of assignments and essays that's due in. That's again building and compounding with that stress. It's just really alarming, you know. And there's another thing with everyone sort of going home. That's something that sort of flags in my mind a little bit of concern, because that's sort of with the COVID, the spread of that, people would have it, they'd be very scared, they'd try retreat back to wherever they sort of come from. So I'd really not want this to sort of be a larger thing of it being spread, you know?
Yeah, definitely. But you've done lots of fundraising here, so there is obviously a light at the end of the tunnel. Tell us quickly about that fundraising that you've done.
Yeah, so definitely. With this one, this is my brother, he'd done the London Marathon, and I was there alongside to support him. In terms of me, myself, I've done fundraising through, I had like a bake sale. I've done 8,000 steps a day to help fundraise for that. I think just, there's a lot of different things you can do. I know that with meningitis now, they've recently went to Morocco to walk across the deserts to help raise money for that.
Fabulous, okay. Thank you so much. Time for a quick break now, but we have plenty more after this short break. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight Live here on KMTV. Now, a man from Maidstone who lost his son to suicide is helping to break the stigma around mental health through cycling. To what would have been his son's 30th birthday, Matt hosted a charity spin-a-thon last month to raise money for Mid Kent Mind, which raised an incredible £25,000. Matt joins me now to tell us more. Matt, so tell me, what obviously inspired you to start the cycling in specifics?
I think after I lost Kelsey, I raised some money through an auction for Mind. That was in 2023. I raised about £7,000. But for me, physical exercise, going to the gym, was always a way of, I don't know, finding my own peace. And so in 2024, I did the first spin-a-thon, and we raised about £15,000. Once again, that was for National Mind. And then in 2025, I tied up with Mid Kent Mind because it's much more local. And we did spin-a-thon number 2 and raised £17,000. And this year, the aim was to try and do that. And it was, I know you said £25,000. It was actually £27,600.
It's went up.
Yeah, it has gone up since we spoke. So it's £27,600 this year we've raised.
And so obviously every year you're getting better and better. How does that feel to be able to raise so much money for a cause that obviously is so important?
I don't think it's just the money, actually. I think it's raising awareness, it's getting people talking about mental health, it's getting people involved. I think the spin-a-thon itself, whilst it's a challenge to do all 12, and some people have done that, quite a lot of people involved, and we've had about 180 individuals involved this year. Have done one class, maybe 2. They've done it in teams. So what we've done is we spread that message out of talk about your mental health, talk about men's mental health, talk to each other, and it's become more of a community than just a challenge.
And of course, men's mental health can be a challenge for them. It's harder to speak up, maybe. How would you encourage men to speak up within their friend groups and maybe at work and things like that?
I don't know how you can encourage men to speak apart from saying it's okay to speak and you get something out of it. It's been difficult for me. I've been processing my loss for 4 years and I still haven't processed it properly, but I am talking more openly about it. I find going to the gym helps me. I'm encouraging other people to do something physical. I think the spin-a-thon itself is quite an accessible thing because people look at marathons and go, oh, that's a long way, whereas actually to sit on a bike, it's load bearing, it's quite good, and people from no matter how you are physically can still access it. So I think it's a good challenge, and we're looking forward to it being even bigger next year.
And with all the support and from the community that you've got and the awareness that you've raised, Kelsey would obviously be very proud of everything that you've been able to do. Do you mind telling me a bit about him and kind of what he was like?
I mean, Kelsey was a young man. But he took his own life at 26. By then, he was an adult. He worked hard, played hard, and enjoyed himself. So I think, I don't think you can say any more than but he was obviously troubled, and whether that blame falls to me, I don't know, and I'll never know that. And I think the really important thing about it is not so much talking, as somebody has to listen. So whoever you are, if you're talking about your mental health, talk to someone that can listen. And if people aren't listening, talk to someone else so you can actually get the help you need.
Definitely. Fabulous. Okay, well, to find out a bit more about that story, we'll take a look back at the story that Maisie Walker did about the cycling.
12 hours of cycling for Mind. So team, bring all your best fancy footwork and all of your best singing voices because they're about to be
Inside this gym, a man from Maidstone is taking on an impressive physical challenge to raise money for Mid Kent Mind. In October 2022, Matt's son Kelsey took his own life. The spinathlon, which consists of 12 consecutive 45-minute spin classes held back-to-back over a 12-hour period, was created to raise money and awareness for mental health, not just highlighting the suffering of young men, but also the detrimental effects it had on Matt's mental health too.
Well, it started off, my son Kelsey took his own life 4 years ago, and I decided to do something for mental health. So 3 years ago, in February, we did the first spin-a-thon here, 25 bikes involved, and then the decision was to try and expand that further.
Around 150 people are expected to take part in the event, with 50 static bikes set up across 5 locations. The event will be hosted in person at Lockmeadow Health Club on Barker Road in Maidstone, with additional participants joining remotely via a live stream.
My experience and being bereaved by suicide has changed the way I feel about mental health, and subsequent to that I've suffered my own mental health problems. And I think, you know, people talk about, oh, it's all about talking, and talking's important. It's also about listening, and people need to listen. I think Kelsey talked, but I don't think people listened enough. So I think it's a two-way street. We're saying men should talk, especially young men, and either they don't, or when they do, people don't listen. I think that's important.
It's a challenge built not just on physical endurance, but on encouraging people to speak up and support one another. And while the challenge may be tough, the message behind it is a simple one. No one has to face it alone. Maisie Walker for KMTV, Maidstone.
And now Sam Reid, Head of Services at Mid Kent Mind, joins me now to tell us about what you're kind of going to do with this money. So we've got £27, Matt just told me, has been raised. So what will that go towards?
Okay, it is such a huge amount of money, and we are so grateful to everybody that's donated. There's been over 1,000 people that have donated, which shows how much awareness Matt has raised around mental health, but also for Mid Kent Mind. This year we're going to use the money to support our youth services, supporting young people from the age of 7 to 8 up to age 25 is really important to us. We can do that through a range of holistic support, whether that be one-to-one sessions, group sessions, social activities, but also support for parents, because behind every young person struggling there's a family where relationships can be difficult, where mum, dad, carers, grandparents and the wider family can also be struggling. So we want to be able to teach parents the techniques we use when working with young people so they can better support their young people at home.
And what tips maybe would you give to parents? Because it can be quite, and I can imagine, difficult for parents to reach out to their children if they're maybe being defensive or things like that. What sort of tips maybe would you give to parents who are worried, I suppose?
Okay, I think the same as Matt said, find someone to talk to. Our phone lines are open all the time during the week, Monday to Friday, and we receive many calls from parents that feel that they've had doors closed on them, and you have to just keep trying. When a parent phones us, we will listen to them, and one of the most important things to us is that people feel listened to, because if you are heard, people can give you the right advice, and that could be you need to speak to your GP. It could be that we can support you and your child. So reaching out for help, involving the school, talking to the school about your concerns, speaking to your GP, speaking to a friend, but we have to communicate with each other. And I think the other thing is, for young people, anxiety is normal, and helping them understand that that is an everyday emotion that we will face, but when it becomes too much and we need to then ask for help.
So if people watching this are struggling, is it a case of they can just look up Mid Kent Mind on their browser and they'll be able to get support from that way, or how does it work?
Yeah, so if people wish to contact us for support, going onto their browser, Mid Kent Mind, our website's there, and it shows the services we offer for young people and adults, as well as our counselling and training arm. So there's a comprehensive website there with a whole range of services. Pick up the phone to us and speak to us. My team that I work with are amazing. Every single one of them are happy to take calls from people and point them in the right direction.
Okay, excellent. And yeah, I suppose in those moments of crisis as well, it can be quite serious. So maybe looking on that website and finding that information can be one step that could help them get out of that sort of spiral.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much, Sam. Now, time for a quick look at the weather before we go. Tonight, Kent will see cloudy skies with temperatures hovering between 9 and 10 degrees. And then tomorrow morning will be similar, with Canterbury reaching highs of 11, while other areas are staying 10 degrees. Partly cloudy skies though. And then into the afternoon, skies will be clear, ranging from 13 degrees to 14. Clear skies until Wednesday, that's good news. 15 degrees Wednesday and Thursday, and then slightly cooler, 13 on Friday. You've been watching Kent Tonight live on KMTV. There's more news made just for you throughout the evening. We've got a new episode of Invictus Sport just after the show. That will be half an hour long, so that's all the latest sporting news from across the county. All of our stories from today will also be uploaded onto our website, kmtv.co.uk, as well as the full programme if you want to watch from the start till the end. And of course, if you have been dealing with the meningitis over in Canterbury or any of the stories that we've discussed today, certainly reach out to us on our email that can be found on Google if you just type in KMTV. But we will have our bulletin as well at 8 p.m. this evening. But if you think you have a story you think we should be covering, then certainly get in touch. We also have a series of special programmes, Invictus Sport, based in Kent, Kent Film Club. We've got lots for you to watch, so if you again go onto our website, you can find everything and more. You'll be very entertained for a good long time. But from me, for now, have a very good evening, and we will see you again at 8 p.m. this evening. Bye-bye.